Okay, folks, here is this week's free trading idea for the week beginning March 4th, 2019. As always, a couple of points here. Control your risk first and foremost. Use the given price levels that I'll talk about here in a second as guidance. And as always, caveat emptor, right? Make your own decision. These are the slides that are upcoming. They're the same on all of these presentations, so I won't read them off. You can pause and look at it if you want, or you can just proceed. And this week's stock is Sinclair Broadcast Group, ticker SBGI. And here is the profile. You can look it up on Yahoo, or you can just read it here. I'll stay here for just a second. And here are some points about the company. Okay, so you see here, it is a small cap, right? Which I tend to like. It's at a high point in its 52-week range, right? 95.32% of the 52-week range, right? So it's close to the 52-week high. What else can we say here? Still doesn't look, I mean, it closed positive, but it's about 50-50 in terms of the daily strength, but you'll see why here in a second, right? It had a really strong move. So you expect a bit of a pullback, but that's why it's going on to the Stalk list. Now here's what's really interesting to me, right? 7.9 million shares short. And this thing trades on average just inside of 400,000 shares a day, right? So that puts your short interest ratio, or the days to cover, at 20.4 days, right? Which means to me that if you can get this thing going, which it looks like happened here in the last couple of days, if you can get this thing going and get it really going, right, then you'll have shorts coming in to cover. And they will provide the rocket fuel to push it higher, right? So next we have the weekly chart, clean, and I actually marked it up a little bit, so it's not completely clean, but it doesn't have any indicators on it, right? It just shows you the pattern, and this is a strong weekly pattern to me, right? This is the base, right? And this is kind of a wedge formation, right? So this trend line is to the downside, but you breach it, right, and it feels like you could have a really strong move to the upside. Excuse me. Next we have the daily chart, annotated, and that's very similar, right? It just brings it in closer. You can see the base here, and you can see that we breached that downtrend line just a little bit, but it leads me to believe that there's a pullback coming. But that will provide a further base for this thing to kind of catapult higher, which is why it's on the stock, going on to the stock list. 4-hour chart, annotated. Here we are. And I just marked this up as for a potential kind of place to look for an entry, right? So you have this rising trend line here on the 4-hour chart. So if you can get a pullback into this circle, right? That just looks like a really good entry place for me, even all the way down to the top of this little resistance area right here that we blew through on this candle, right? So we can get back here or just above there, right, and get a buy signal. That says to me that that would be a good place to get involved. So here's the trade philosophy. This is kind of consistent, right? This is not specific to SBGI. It's just how I think about swing trades and how to get involved. So you can read that if you like or not. And here's the potential trade plan for SBGI. All of the details here. Your stop loss is at 33.5, right? Your entries somewhere between 34.5 and 35 if it plays out the way that I think. You stalk it to this level, right? That puts your maximum risk at $1.50 and your target is 40-ish. So that puts your potential risk to potential reward above 3, right? A 3 multiple. So those are the kinds of things that I like to look at and think about getting involved in. Disclosures here, you can read those for yourself. Basically, this is for information purposes only. If you choose to take this trade or take a trade based on something that I suggest, it is your decision, right? I'm not, I don't have a stake in the stock, right? I don't own it, won't own it. I'm not an executive of the company. I don't have anything to do with it, right? It just looks good on a price basis to me. So I'm sharing it for that reason. Okay. So as always, I hope this is helpful, and I hope you make a ton of money from it. Okay. Take care.